Hi, Sonia. I'm really excited to have you on my show, all about resiliency for women and other things that come up. But the focus of the Enchanted Self is around helping women reach their potential. So I think maybe if we could just jump in, I think you're going to be able to lead me better than I'm going to be able to lead you. So maybe you could just start with a focus a little bit around that article that you wrote and why, that kind of thing.
Sure. So first off, thank you so much for having me. I really feel honored to be here. I love the work that you're doing. So that
Thank you.
article that I had written that you guys had reached out to me about actually was pitched to me by an editor. So in the morning, sometimes the editors get together and they come up with a list of stories that they want to get accomplished for the day, and then they assign those out to the reporters at the Daily Mail. But we do a lot of those list-like articles where we're ranking the best of things, the worst of things. That one for the day obviously was the worst states for women to live with, to live in. So that data actually was from a company called Wallet Hub, and Wallet Hub does a ton of those stories. So it could be like, just the best states in terms of affordability, healthcare, all of those metrics they usually have a list for. This one actually was the best states for women to live in, but we had spun that around and said, what about the worst states that women can live in? So that's how that story kind of came about. Now, we do have deadlines for these types of stories, but we're just kind of pumping them out. But I thought this one was super interesting, so I kind of was getting bugged by my editor the whole time to kind of finish quicker, but I had to do a little bit more research for this one because I think it's an important issue. And again, just super interesting that all five of those states on that list were GOP-run states. So, and I'll kind of boil down to political representation, obviously, how much a woman makes in comparison to a man, growth opportunity in terms of career. So things of that nature that would just be metrics of quality of life and how happy and fulfilled women feel living in that specific state. It was quite interesting that a specific ones, I believe, ones that stuck out to me in my mind, and I have to reference the article to give you more specifics. But I know Utah and Arkansas had I think a lot of actual like pre-existing material from women in the state that were kind of coming forward, like, oh, these are the issues, like themselves kind of speaking up. And I believe it was Arkansas, they actually had a leadership initiative within the female members of the government to kind of urge more women to get involved, which I thought was super interesting as well, because it was women within the state saying, like, we have kind of an issue here that we need to work towards. We need to kind of break through this glass ceiling that we have set here, that we're kind of behind other states or just where we are as a nation in terms of women's rights and progression. So I thought that was super interesting point. And again, that pre-existing stuff, specifically in Utah, which was the worst state to live in America.
Well,
So super
let
interesting.
me interject here, but I want to know a little more about you for women to listen to maybe how some of the things that how you developed. And so I'm going to ask just a few questions. We can deviate, but let's do a few questions. Um, Tell us how your career started and a little bit about why you became a journalist, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So I had graduated college last May. So about a year into this current position. I've always wanted to become a journalist. I believe the first time it kind of clicked into my mind was I was in high school, and I just thought, wow, like people are so interesting. Learning is so interesting. And what is a career where I can continue to do that my entire life and just get to know people, share people's stories, keep my mind sharp as well, because again, I'm constantly learning, adapting, just kind of having to understand new concepts and on a deadline. So I thought journalism would be a really interesting field, that it would be dynamic and I'd never feel kind of stuck. I would always feel like I was growing. So that was something that was super important to me. So I think that idea kind of was born in high school. And then once I had gotten to college, I'd done a couple of internships. One that stuck out the most was at the Staten Island Advance. Local journalism is so important. And unfortunately, kind of I don't want to say dying industry, but certainly a changing industry for better or for worse. The whole industry is, but on a local level, you can definitely see it more. But again, just I was really out on the field and just kind of interacting with new people, covering events, covering local stories, and that just solidified it for me that I knew I wanted to be in a fields that I was again just out there interacting with people and learning. So then with this position that I'm in, which I'm very fortunate for, I'm very grateful that I get to work at an international news outlet right
Yeah.
off the bat. Um, it's super incredible. And again, very lucky because jobs are scarce. But actually, at my college, I went to Stony Brook University. We had a lovely professor called Dr. Sarah Baxter, and she had been reached out to me and said, "Hey, I know some people at the shop and they're hiring, and I think you'd be excellent for this position. Why don't you apply and see what happens? So again, if it wasn't for those female connection, those networking
Right.
opportunities,
So you really, excuse me, this is the allergy season.
I know the worst.
Okay. So it sounds like she was a mentor also,
She
and she
was.
probably mentored a lot of the kids or young adults.
She did.
So I think one of the things you're sharing with the public is how important it is for a person in your age range, even, I mean, at any age range, but particularly when you're young and you don't want to be crushed again and again, to find people that can act as mentors, you know.
Absolutely.
So that was a very important point, and I do think it's important you're saying it rather than me, because I'm at the other end of having, worked for, I'm not going to say how many years. Anyway, a lot of the young people today are upset because they send out resumes and they never even get an answer.
I know.
And you pushed through. You really got to where you needed to start. And I don't know what else you can share with people under 30 about what you're saying, but if you have another golden nugget or something, throw it out because they need it.
I mean, I definitely would say exactly to your point, it is very difficult. I know some of my friends, again, we're all around that age where we're just transitioning. What's the next step? Who's going to, get their master's degree or grad school? I mean, one of my friends is going to get her PsyD, I believe it's called. She wants to become a psychologist, and that's 5 more years of school. That's no, that's not an easy task to go and embark on that. And I'm sure you know, I mean, obviously you're a
Yeah,
doctor, so you must understand that level of
yeah,
education. So it's just this pivot, the transitional point in everyone's lives, and it can be discouraging when, you're sending out hundreds of applications. I know some of my friends are really struggling, and they're brilliant. I mean, a lot of my friends are just like, not a lot of them, all of my friends. I'm surrounded. I'm very fortunate. I have very smart friends. They're all, again, just really strong women, and it's really frustrating for them. I see that, and I know I've been very fortunate. So I would just say those connections that you foster. But I guess in terms of advice, just keep going because it happens all at once. When I got this job, I had a totally different plan in mind. I was actually pursuing, I was going to go get a master's degree. And I'm not saying that that's completely off the table for me. I want to go circle back to that. But I never thought I was going to get this job. It all changed for me within a week. I had graduated college and then I got that email, I'll apply for this. And then on a whim, I did. And I was in the same boat. I was applying for jobs and it wasn't panning out the way I wanted it to. And it can be discouraging, but you just have to be persistent because your life can change all at once and you never know what's going to happen. You just have to be
Oh,
optimistic.
yes, yes. And it sounds to me like you're courageous and you're risk taking. Not like crazy risk taking. I could see you say asking to someone, can I come back and share with you what happened? Or, you know, I might need some more advice. Are you ever free? I could see you saying things like that. And I think the that's part of it also.
Certainly. Yeah,
You
just follow.
know, so what about your family? How have they reacted to your choices in life at this point?
Right. So I have a very supportive family. I'm very, very fortunate. Both my parents, they always have kind of implemented in me that if I want something, you get it and you don't give up, be open-minded, but don't get down on yourself because again, life is just full of those twists and turns. You don't know what's going to happen. When I originally said I wanted to be a journalist, I remember, when you say that word, sometimes people are like, "Oh, you want to be a journalist?" They think it's a risky industry. They think it isn't too great. Maybe they aren't so happy with what the media realm is looking like right now. So they kind of discourage you towards the beginning of that. I remember in my family, not that my family, it was more coming from external. I remember I was graduating high school. I'd be with my dad in the gym, and then one of his friends would say, "Oh, what are you going to major in?" And I said, "Journalism." And they say, "Oh, that's not a great field." Or you even get a couple of people saying, "I tried that, didn't work out." But I remember one time I had gotten some pushback, and my dad was next to me, and he turned to me and he goes, Sonia, like, do whatever you want. No one can tell you what to do, and no one knows what your life's gonna turn out to be. You can be whatever you want and you're going to be a good one. And that kind of really stuck with me. And I'm so happy you said that because I remember up until that point, I was kind of on the fence. I was like, oh, maybe this isn't, the path for me. Maybe these people are right. I mean, why are all these people saying that? So I'm really grateful that I always had people in my corner kind of rooting for me. And I think that's super important. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have that. So I recognize how lucky I am.
You are,
Yeah.
yes. And do you have any siblings in your family? Are they
Yeah.
interested in what came forth in the very first year of your work and stuff? Uh,
They absolutely are. So I have two stepbrothers and I have a sister. And my little sister actually she's always been super. She actually just entered college. She's a freshman in college right now. I miss her so deeply. She goes to a school in Pennsylvania. But she's always been super interested. And again, I love her and I'm so proud of her. And she's so ambitious. Talk about, I could see great things in her future. She's very strong-minded, very just like very persistent and she knows what she wants. I really, really admire her, the traits that she has. She's not afraid to speak her mind. And she's always been super interested in my work. I know she's majoring in business. I know she wants to do something. I know she doesn't have an exact pinpoint of where she sees her future, but she loves interacting with people as well. I always thought she'd be excellent in the communications field. I had taken her to one of my college classes once, during my last year of college. I had bought her to like a broadcasting class we had and she adored it. And I thought that was so cool that she was interested in what I was doing. So she's definitely I'm so, again, very blessed to have a sister like Cece. Her name's Cece. So,
so it sounds like that you have so much to offer, not only the world at large, but other young adults. I could see you having a show just like I'm doing, and giving five pointers to people within your range about going to look for a job. And, you've got it on the table already. You can spread your wings almost anywhere you want. It's going to be a lot of fun, I would think, too. You know,
yeah, I
what
sure hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you want to tell the public? Because, this is funny because first of all, I thought you'd be about 30 years older than you are. The questions that we work out are questions that would be very interesting, say at 50-ish, as people talk about their lifespan and stuff. But we're rolling into what you really are. So my last question on the list is probably still very, very relevant. And that is, what advice would you give a 12-year-old about her future?
Ooh, see, that's a good one. I always think about that. Like, what would you if you had an opportunity to sit with your former self when you were younger? First of all, I would say to a 12-year-old in general, just brace yourself. Things are changing every day, not in a scary way, but just be aware that, you know, your mind changes. And I feel like the best way to describe it is, again, I'm 21 years old right now. I could think to myself last year, and my thought process is just totally different. So I can only imagine what it's like to be, again, a 12-year-old jumping to where I am right now. Just a totally wild transition. I would just, again, tell any 12-year-old, just be open-minded, trust yourself, because people will try to bring you down. You may have this kind heart, this open heart, and people don't love that. Sometimes people take kindness for weakness. It is true. I've been told that on several occasions. I've been told at work, at different various jobs, pulled to the side and say, Sonia, I love you. I think you're an awesome person and you just have a warmth about you.
Mhm.
But people will take advantage of that kindness. And you know what? Sometimes they were right, and I hate to say that, but in better, the best way I could say it is don't let anybody dull your sparkle. Take those lessons come along the way, and sometimes the lessons really hurt, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your personal life, but just use it as ammunition for your future. Keep yourself going, keep yourself optimistic, and don't let that negativity get to you too much. Because at the end of the day, that's everyone else's problem and not yours. You just have to make sure that you're staying brave, you're staying sharp with your mind. Don't let anybody take advantage of you, and just believe in yourself. And don't compare yourself. Comparison, you'll kill your own buzz. Just stay in your own lane and worry about yourself. And your journey is your journey, and everybody else's is theirs. So just keep your head up. That's all I have to really say to that.
Fabulous. Now, when you write your first book, consider the title, Keep Your Sparkle, and make sure I get a free copy.
I absolutely would. That's honestly very inspirational. That my dedication is to you.
Anything else? Or otherwise, I think you have offered the public what's most relevant in this particular interview. So, anything else you wish to say?
I think your questions really covered everything. I want to thank you so much
Okay,
again for having me here. Excellent questions. And this was really, really fun
good. I hope I meet you in person sometime.
as well. Mm,
Okay, we can say goodbye for now.
Bye. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Welcome.
Bye. Take care.
You too.